immigrants are treated fair. Oh, how proud I'll be of my country when everyone is treated fair. When corporate rule is history and Congress speaks for you and me. Oh, how proud I'll be of my country when Congress speaks for you and me. When workers get a living wage and poverty has been erased. Oh, how proud I'll be of my country when poverty has been erased. When all our kids can read and write, and taxes go for schools, not jails. Oh, how proud I'll be of my country when taxes go for schools, not jails. When women have the right to choose and good health care is there for all. Oh, how proud I'll be of my country when good health care is there for all. When justice rules instead of guns, and we are friends with all the world. Oh, how proud I'll be of my country when we are friends with all the world.
Check 1, 2. Need help? Sorry for all the tripod, but you got it. You got it. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, don't do this again.
Like I'm a motherless child, got nowhere to call my home. Yeah, got nowhere to call my home. Have you ever been abused? You've been torn down. Yeah. Have you ever been abused? You've been torn
tore down. Like I can't go on no more. I can't get up. I can't go on no more. I can't go on. Oh, not no more. Have you ever been abused? You've been told yeah. Have you ever had the blues? You've been told So I was born and raised in the rocky foothills of Rosie, California, all those mountains out there. And I grew up on the back of a horse most of the time. And I rode a horse before I could walk. That's the honest truth. But every time, no matter how far I go in the world, overseas playing music, it never fails. As soon as I see these foothills, I get emotional, and there's no place like the San Joaquin foothills. I am a very proud foothill Yokut, and I'm always going to be that way. And here's my song about our California hills. It's called California or Bust.
Or Bust, yeah, baby.
California with a guitar and a sack. It's a ride, train and bus with a sunrise at my back. I'm going home to them California. I'm going home to them California. pure windy city. Though the pills good to me, I'm on mission, Kansas City, Oklahoma, Tennessee. I'm going home to them hills, to them California hills. I'm going home to them hills, to them California hills. From South Texas, that's a whole nother world. Mama raised in Fieldwork sunshine, a Central Cali girl. I'm going home to them California hills. I'm going home to them California hills. From South Texas, that's a whole nother world. Mama raised in Fieldwork sunshine, Central Cali girl. I'm going home to them California hills. I'm going home to them California hills. Crops rolling, the peaches are rotting, the oranges are piling, the creosote dome. They're flying me back to the Mexican border. Pay all my money way back again. Goodbye to my one, goodbye Rosalita. Adios, mi amigos, Jesus y Maria. No, we won't have a name when you ride the big airplane. All they will call us is the deportee. My father's own father waded that river. They took all the money made in his life. My brothers and sisters come work in the fruit tree. They rode the big truck till they took down and died. We died in your hills, we died in your desert. We died in your mountains, we died in your plains. We died beneath your trees, we died in your bushes. Both sides of the river, we died just the same. Goodbye to my one, my Rosalita. Adios, mi amigos, Jesus y Maria. Won't have a name, we ride the big airplane. Oh, they will call us the deportee. One more time. Goodbye to my one, goodbye Rosalita. Adios, mi amigos, Jesus y Maria. Won't have a name, ride the big airplane. Or they will call us the deportee. And it's 600 miles to the Mexican border. They chase us like outlaws, like animals, like thieves. You ask who are these friends, all scattered like dry leaves. The radio calls us all just deportees. Goodbye to my one, goodbye Rosalita. Adios, mi amigos, Susie Maria. You won't have a name when you ride the big airplane. All they will call us is the deportee. One more time. Goodbye to my one, goodbye Rosalita. Adios, mi amigos, Susie Maria. You won't have a name, ride the big airplane. All they will call us is the deportee.
¡Vivan los essential workers!
I'm not from Texas, but my father here. I'm from a little old place, the rocky side of the hill. If you go there, look down, Lord, there's a rattlesnake licking your salty. I'm from the home of the Yoke Nation, Central California, USA. Food trucks rolling along, all loaded up the 99. Ag farmers working, field hands picking, only the nice and ripe. And if you're hungry, then we the one that feeds you. We better get it right. I'm from a rough and tumble farm town, Central California, USA. Nation, Central California, USA. more for you. All right, maybe one more. Is that good? I don't want to keep you guys too long. But it's good to see a lot of you, and some of you I'm really close to, and I hadn't seen in a long time. And you're dear to my heart, and I want you to know you know who you are.
We love you, Lance.
I love you guys too. Appreciate it. I was born in cold hard love. I was born in cold hard love. As far back as I can see, bad luck hounding, haunting me. Preacher say the devil got horns and a tail. Preacher say the devil got horns and a tail. Well, I seen the devil and he looked like you. He knows the Bible through and through, laughing and funning at the things you do. Preacher say the devil got horns and a tail. Preacher say the devil got horns and a tail. Well, I seen the devil and he looked like you. He knows the Bible through and through, laughing and funning at the things you do. Accidentally gone myself. You're done. Gong show. Whatever this is, match this.
I am an educator, and so call and response is required. And so, Eduardo, can you hear me back there? Is that better? All right, so I want to make sure that everybody can hear me as I'm going through this. Those of you in the food line, no rush, but we're going to get started without you so that we're not here longer than we promised that we would be. So this is a great gathering, great audience, lots of new faces, lots of people that I've never seen your face, and having an opportunity to meet all of you. And so hopefully as we go through this evening, we'll have an opportunity to exchange greetings, fist, knuckles now, as the kids would say, rather than handshakes and hugs. But this is kind of the climate that we're in. For those of you who have not had an opportunity to meet me, I'm Dr. Darren Miller, a longtime K-12 educator here in the area. Born and raised in Fresno, was gone for a couple years playing college football, and now I'm back, and I am actually was just asked to serve on the Community Alliance editorial board, and so I've been doing that since July, I think it was, or August, or something like that. And so when you're a new guy, a new kid on the block, you get tapped and told that you're going to do certain things. And so my job tonight is to serve as your master of ceremonies and to make sure that we navigate through this evening and have as much fun as possible. And so thank you. I'll be here all night, as the comedians always say. To get started, there's a couple of thank yous that we want to do up front. Lance Canales and the Flood, who's provided, it's perfect timing. There he is coming around the corner. Thank you, Lance, for your support of the paper and this event that we always are putting on here. So thank you for that. Next, this is I'm not going to say it's not going to be my only political statement of the night. So those of you who know me, politics is kind of in my blood. But I want to thank you. Somebody say, for what?
For what?
For making sure that Larry Elder is not my governor. So, I hope I didn't offend anyone with that statement. Sounds like I'm amongst colleagues and friends. If you happen to be on the other side of the ledger, we welcome you as well and love you as well. And hopefully my thanks to you is also pointed in the right direction. Because I think that we've done a lot of work here on the progressive side of the ledger to get California to where it is. And I think that, and I know that there's a political process. We elect our political servants, okay? Barring something atrocious that they've done or some other type of activity that they shouldn't have been involved in, then that would be appropriate for impeachment. But impeachment should not be a substitute for us electing and selecting who our political officials are. And I think that we as Californians have set the tone for the rest of the country as we're going forward. And so I just want to make sure I get that out as well. That's my thank you to you. Editorial board, my colleagues, could you please stand? Come on, editorial board. I know you guys are out there somewhere. Eduardo, Mike, Pam, I think Michael's out of the country. They're all volunteering and doing different things. I want to make sure that I acknowledge my colleagues with the editorial board and thank them for allowing me, asking me, and allowing me to serve on this capacity as well. And so as we go through the evening, you're going to have an opportunity to hear about the history of the paper. You're going to have an opportunity to meet history. There are some of our past editors and some other people that we're going to honor tonight with different awards as we go forward. And so with that, by the way, don't laugh at my notes. I ran off and left my agenda in my printer, so I have to do it this way. So first, coming up, I'm going to, so one of the other processes, political processes that are going on right now is the process of redistricting. How we draw our maps for us to be able to select and elect our representatives. And so there is a big push right now, and I'm going to invite a young lady to come up and kind of talk with us about what goes on with redistricting. Many of you know her, but those of you who do not, this is Miss Amy Arambula, and she's going to talk to us a little bit about redistricting and what's going on here for Fresno County.
Well, I did not get the gift of gab that my husband Juan got or my son Joaquin, but I'm going to do my best. As I tease, I lead with my heart. And I think you all realize that here in Fresno County, we could be doing a lot better, particularly with our Board of Supervisors. So I'm here to really encourage you, in fact, beg you to join the fight for fair maps in the Central Valley. When we draw fair district maps, our communities have the opportunity to elect leaders who represent our needs and fight for the resources our families need to thrive. Fresno County, like every other Valley County, has experienced dramatic population growth over the past few decades, with huge increases in communities of color, especially Latinos. In the last 3 decades, we have gone from under 30% up to about 53%, and the Anglo population in the area has done the exact opposite. And yet, when we look at our Board of Supervisors maps, they're almost exactly as the same. The lines are almost exactly the same as they were 30 years ago, and the face of the Board of Supervisors remains the same. So we're hoping you will join the Fair Map Coalition and the Dolores Huerta Foundation as we demand fair maps that will provide minority and marginalized communities the opportunity to elect candidates of their choice. We can all agree that it's long overdue for the Fresno County Board of Supervisors to reflect the diversity of this county. If we sit out this fight, the opportunity to draw new district lines that could change the political landscape won't come around for another 10 years. And this decision will be made by mid-November. So the time to get involved is now. As you all know, this is the Progressive PAC, so I don't need to explain. Fresno County has always been conservative. Look at their response to COVID. Supervisors first tried to deny the problem. They didn't believe in the science requiring people to wear masks or get vaccinated. They jeopardized public health because they didn't have the guts to stand up to some of the bullies in the room. The board has allowed some of our unincorporated communities out in the rural areas to suffer, while they've been more concerned about wealthy farmers and landowners. It's time for change. And if you believe poor people should have a voice, minorities should have a voice, that people who appear before the board should be treated with respect, then please join our effort to fight for fair maps. Unfortunately, it's a really boring subject, and so the reality is we need folks like you who are politically engaged to help out. Support our coalition's proposed map. I will not sit here and spend the next 15 minutes explaining every line. They're great maps. They do things like create a true North Fresno district. They no longer allow Clovis to have 2 supervisors. It divides the rural communities along 41, which, because there's a huge difference between the rural west side and the rural east side, and it means that we no longer have the most Latino district in this county, run from Orange Cove 100 miles across to Coalinga, a district we would never win. And so we just really, you guys are articulate, you know, we just need some help. So that we'll have a fighting chance. All we're asking for is a fighting chance to elect people who better reflect the diversity of this region. And you folks here today. So the Board of Supervisors has established an advisory commission. They can choose to follow its recommendations, or they can choose not to. But we've got to create a record. And I'm an attorney by profession, and so I get it, right? We have to present the evidence we need. We've got to create a record. So on Wednesday, September 29th, the Commission will host one of its last virtual public workshops at 6 p.m. It's the only opportunity they're providing for people to give comments from the comfort of their own home. If you think, I don't know much about redistricting, I don't know a lot about your proposed map, not a good excuse. We got a bunch of couple of them over at this beautiful table right here. They're happy to get your name. We'll give you a link to the map. We'll explain the kind of testimony we need to be given. And so hopefully you'll help us out. We'll walk you through the process. And Pam, I guarantee, would have my head if I fail to stress that they are having a public meeting, a hearing, in person on October 5th at 1 p.m. And we'd love to have folks in attendance. The Dolores Huerta Foundation and we call it the Equitable Map Coalition, will be presenting a revised map to the commission, and we'd love people in support. Better yet, we'd hope you'd speak out in support of our proposed map. And unfortunately, this is one of the many times only those who attend in person forget COVID, forget the pandemic, the surge, whatever. Got to be there in person to provide comment. And again, we're happy to. In fact, we prefer to help you prepare. There's, again, my table staffed by two great Dolores Huerta Foundation staffers waiting for you to stop by. We'll help, just anyhow, help us out. 10 years.
Thank you. Thank you, Amy. So I know many of you are like me when she approached me about 6 months ago. What the heck is this? Not a good excuse. We do have Dolores Huerta Foundation's table there for the young ladies that can help and address any questions, direct you to the examples of the map that they've drawn up. And remember, this is specific, Amy, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is specific to Fresno County's lines.
Board of Supervisors.
Board of Supervisors
Board of
lines.
Supervisors lines.
Okay?
The
So those,
city of, we gotta take, man, we gotta take the Board of Supervisors.
City of Fresno has a different process. State Commission has a different process, but this is our Board of Supervisors.
okay, so this is specific to the Board of Supervisors. So I encourage you, if you've got a question mark, please go over and visit the ladies there at the Dolores Huerta Foundation table. Moving along, those of you who are educators, how many educators do I have out in the room? I know you all love history, and so we're getting ready to go on a little history tour of the paper, and we're going to go on that tour as guided by no one other than Mr. Mike Rhodes himself. So let's welcome Mike up.
Thanks, Darren. The Community Alliance started about 25 years ago. Actually, September 20th, 1996 was our first issue. So really close to 25 years. And I'm honored to be here and speaking to you 25 years after we started. The first meeting we had was at the Fresno Center for Nonviolence. And we were a small group. We were organizing an organization called the Labor Party, which believed in workers having a voice in politics. Out of that meeting came our primary project, which was the Community Alliance. It was called the Labor Community Alliance at that time. And what we wanted to do was to produce a paper that shared with the community all the variety of the progressive movement. There's groups that are doing immigrant rights work, that are doing labor organizing, LGBTQ issues, but they operate in Fresno at that time more in silos, where they didn't know the other groups were around. And through this single paper, we could share with the community what these groups were doing and build a stronger movement, because there would be more unity, more people joining in on each other's activities. You know, the Sierra Club and WILF, they all had their own newsletters. but they just went to their members. This paper went to organized labor, it went to peace groups, it went to immigrant rights groups, and it started having an impact in the community. And more people were attending events. There was more information that we were sharing. And eventually we realized that a small newsletter, I'll show you a copy of what that looked like. This is a copy of the first edition of the Community Alliance newspaper. And I might point out that on the back is a picture of Frank Little. We were the Frank Little chapter of the Labor Party in Fresno. Frank was a IWW organizer, Industrial Workers of the World, and he was a part of the free speech movement in 1910, 1911, where they filled the Fresno County jails with organizers. There was an ordinance stopping them from standing up and talking to other agricultural workers at that time, and they would arrest them, take them to jail. The IWW filled the jails. The Fresno city government had to back down, change the ordinance. We won the free speech fight. And that man right there was a big part of it, Frank Little. So we grew. First we were printing maybe 300 copies. Then we went to a new format. Looked more like this. It's kind of a magazine style. And it was slick. We were fortunate enough to have George Ballas and Maya Sorter do the design work, and they were artists. I mean, we raised to a whole new level when they were putting the paper out, and it grew. And we were then printing like 2,000 copies, but there was more demand. We'd run out of copies every month. We realized we had to either print more of these or go to a newsprint style. The advantage of newsprint is that you can get more information in there. It's a larger format, and it's a lot cheaper because this all has to be collated by hand and then stapled, and then we mail it. With a newspaper, it's all done in one motion. So 5,000 copies of a newspaper would be the equivalent of 1,000 or 2,000 of these. So we became a newspaper. And during that time, some pretty amazing things happened, things that I never imagined. For example, we had, this time I went to we were distributing it through the library, and I would take a bundle in, put it down, and be gone the next month when I came back. Well, this time when I came in with a bundle of papers, the librarian said, no, you can't put those down here anymore. There's a decision been made that you're too controversial. I said, what? Excuse me? You've got the Communist Manifesto here. You got Mein Kampf, and we're too controversial? And she was a little embarrassed by that, but she took me to her, the head librarian, who confirmed that the word had come down from downtown that they were no longer to take our paper. Well, we couldn't let that stand. I mean, if you start letting people push you around like that, you're not going to be getting papers out to anybody. So we went down and talked to the head librarian. She argued, and it was kind of funny because her argument was, well, we had the Tea Party, they wanted to put their paper in here, and in order not to have their paper, we had to tell them we were removing yours. I go, you're kidding. I mean, this is a library. You're supposed to be promoting a diversity of opinion, and let them have their paper there, and we have our paper too. Let the people decide, and she backed down and they took the paper back. So you have to fight for free speech. And if they take it away, you have to fight harder. We've had another situation where the city of Fresno was taking our newsstands from downtown and destroying them, I guess, because they couldn't find where they had put them. And so when we found out what was happening and followed it up, Bob Navarro does a lot of freelance pro bono work for the Community Alliance. He was able to write a letter to them that immediately changed their tone. They offered to pay for the missing newsstand. And, you know, we haven't had any problems there since. Well, like I said, you got to fight for the right to free speech. It just doesn't come naturally. And there's been some really great writing that's come out of the newspaper. My favorite special section was written by our guest speaker tonight, Mark Arax, who had been collaborating with the Fresno Bee on this series about the Fresno County Jail and how they were taking people who had mental health issues. They would come in and they would take their medications away and give them some generic alternative that wasn't prescribed for them. And we thought that was outrageous. And Mark had done all this great research. His students at Fresno State were working on this with him. They'd written a series of articles that was more than just like, you know, one article in the paper. We had to print a whole special section. But when he presented it to the Fresno Bee, they said, we're going to do it our own way. We want you to turn over all your notes and interviews. And you don't have an alternative. There's nothing else you can do. And Mark thought about it. He's like, no, I do. He called me and asked me if I would be willing to print this series of articles as he had written it and his students had written it. And I said, of course, and we're going to get it out right away because people's lives were in danger. They were literally situations where released inmates that had mental health issues that were untreated killed people. One killed his own grandmother, and they did harm to themselves. It was just a horrific situation. So as soon as the paper came out, people read it, the policy changed immediately. The person who had implemented the policy moved on. They changed their policy. People were able to get the medications that they needed to participate in their legal defense. So the paper has a real impact in the community. And so did the articles I wrote about homelessness in Fresno. We had a series of articles over 10 years that talked about what's really happening in the community and with homeless people's lives. Homeless people were having their tents and other structures bulldozed and destroyed, and they were losing everything they had, which wasn't very much, but they lost their clothing, they lost sleeping bags, they lost their tents. There were people that lost irreplaceable things like the ashes of their grandson that had been taken by a bulldozer, picked up, put in the back of a garbage truck, and crushed and hauled out to the dump. People lost, you know, photographs of their family members, address books, so that when they wanted to get back in touch, they couldn't. We eventually, after running that story, you know, a lot of information about what the city was doing and the harm it was causing, a group of attorneys agreed to represent the homeless people in a class action lawsuit filed against the city that resulted in a $2.3 million settlement, which was given to homeless people. Woo! And a change in public policy in the federal judge ruled that the city of Fresno could no longer take and immediately destroy homeless people's property. It was a real victory and an example of what the Community Alliance is capable of doing.
Yes.
And if you've been watching the trend in the newspaper industry, it's pretty dismal. papers are closing all over the country. Even the Fresno Bee has been affected, and you notice how much smaller it is now. It's no longer 7 days a week. It's been heavily impacted by the internet and social media, and that's where a lot of people get their news these days. They get their news from social media. Not as much our generation as young people, but we've got to develop a process to reach out to younger people about what progressive movement is doing, the importance of health care for all, immigrant rights, LGBTQ rights. And we're not reaching those people as well as we should be with our paper, because our paper doesn't get in their hands. Young people aren't reading newspapers these days. So we need, our next advancement forward is to have a social media director that will be able to reach out to younger people with the kind of news and information they need to have. We are in a unique situation right now. Usually when we're here, we're begging you for money. But the fact is that we've gotten a couple of grants in the past couple of months, and we're bringing in a lot of money from our subscribers and monthly sustainers. So the next grant we get hopefully is going to give us an ability to hire somebody who will reach out to younger people, who will continue the progressive movement and be a part of the changes that we need to see in this community. And I'm so honored that you're a part of this and that you've come out to our 25th anniversary. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Woo! All right.
So you guys obviously can tell by what Michael told us about the long history of the paper, that it is a part of the fabric of our community, the whole city of Fresno. And so it's an honor for me to be a part of it. You guys also can tell that he's not a politician, because he told you he does not, that we do not, the paper does not need your financial support. I heard. So I want to make sure I correct that. So those of us who are sustainers, which I happen to be as well, please continue to sustain the paper in the way that you're doing and recruit others. Those of you who are not sustainers or who are giving on a monthly basis to the paper, I encourage you to do so. It's very easy to do online. You know, $25, $30 every month out of your bank account is something. It's, as the kids tell me, it's 4 visits to Starbucks or whatever it is, $5 or 5 visits to Starbucks. Please do a little sacrificing so that we can sustain ourselves with the paper. Grants are great, but you know, you guys, those of you who work with grants, know there's a time frame. There's a sunset that goes along with grants. And we want to be able to use the grants to be able to enhance what it is we're doing with the paper. And we are the people who need to pick up that slack there. So I want to encourage you. So I'll put my politician hat on to make sure. Please send the dollars, please, we need them. So with this, moving on, we are honored. We're going to have some awards given. We're going to recognize some folks who have been recommended and selected by the editorial board to receive honors this year. And Eduardo Stanley, I don't know, oh, there you are. Eduardo is going to announce our honorees. So let's give him a hand as he comes. You want me to sing while you get him? That would be bad. Everybody would go home. We don't want to do that.
We don't want you to compete with us. Hi everybody. I'm gonna present the awards to a selected group of people. We are gonna begin with Gary Bill. Where is Gary? There you go.
You need to hold the mic closer. And you'll find out.
Hey Gary, thank you much. Gary is emeritus professor for Fresno State, Fresno City College. And he's sitting the boards of KSCF too, the Fresno Center for Nonviolence. He's been all over. Our great writer Bob McCluskey. Is he here? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Can you pose for a picture?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, Rafi Dorian. She's not here? Well,
In her absence.
and now we have a surprise because this we decided at the last minute. I don't know about this lady if you know her, Pam Wallen. She's hiding there. We don't need to tell you why. Thank you very much for all you do. You know, she is all over too, really.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. She was surprised, really.
I was trying to get you to get a picture.
Okay, thank you very much. And what you introduce what's next?
And we have another set of awards that we're going, or I should say recognitions, not just set of awards, but recognitions on behalf of the paper. And coming up, Peter Mayton is going to make those presentations.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We felt that this year we should acknowledge the important contribution of delivery drivers for the paper. These are folks that get the paper out to the folks in the community every time it comes out, every month. And all of them understand the meaning of a dubious parking space or an audacious U-turn. I have a certificate. I'm going to call people up. Can Richard Gomez come up? And Melissa Fry. Gene Hayes. Darren Miller's already up here. He's ready. Dan Yassine. Des Martinez. Did Des make it here? Everybody come up to the stage. Camille's coming up. Oh, Bev Fitzpatrick. Can we get Bev Fitzpatrick up here? Bev is relaxing right now. Richard Gomez, are you here? Okay, well, these are the certificates and these are the people who make the paper reading possible. And we want to thank them all with a really big round of applause.
Thank you all for your hard work. And if any of you have a site that you may think that may be a good distribution site, by either having a stand or In my case, they drop off papers that I then go out and deliver. Please see Peter throughout the evening, and he can help arrange.
Yeah.
Oh, I got it.
One more thing there.
Okay. Yeah.
We're looking for volunteers to deliver the Selma Fowler part of the air route and the Madera route. So if anybody out there knows anybody who can do that, there's going to be an ad about it in the October paper, and you can contact me. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. So next, we're going to call up the editor, the previous editors to the paper to have words. And I understand that there are 4 of them that are here tonight. Of course, Mike Rhodes, Lourdes, Oliva, Lulu, come on up. Stan Santos, I haven't seen Stan. I don't know if Stan is here. Stan Santos, if you're here. And then Elsa Mejia, please also come up. Oh, and Eduardo, come back up, please. Eduardo, come back up. Although you're not previous, I'm just saying you're going to be doing something. So we're going to try to do this in reverse order. So, Ms. Lulu, you are first.
No habla inglés.
Mi español es muy malo, but I understand that.
Buenas noches, ¿cómo están? At least that much, guys. We're from Fresno. Well, it was a great pleasure to be part of the Community Alliance, and also to see how people were excited to see their voice, to see themselves. And the first project that I took on with the Community Alliance Spanish section was to give a space for children from Fresno Unified to share their stories on a newspaper. For college students to see that being printed was a very important task in their careers. So I thank everybody for the opportunity that you have given this newspaper. And I really hope that we all leave here saying, we're gonna go find more Community Alliance allies to really make this newspaper stand and stay and be historic for many, many more years and many more communities. We still have the Punjab, we have the Hmong, we have now a lot of refugees coming from the Middle East, from Syria. They need to find their voice too. Palestine, they need to see they could also have at least a spot where they could see who makes their bread, who makes their food, who is here for them. We are here, the Community Alliance. ¿Sí se puede? Sí se puede. Right. I don't know what they said for us to say because I was way over there, but that's what I gotta say.
Next, we're going to have Elsa Mejia.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Elsa Mejia, and I had the honor and the privilege of being your editor for over a year. And I would give the double check with the sección en español. I was checking it after Lulu had edited it. Like I said during my initial interview, it was rewarding to be a part of this because I never saw so many progressives like myself, especially in Madera. And now I am on the front page because I'm running for city council in Madera. So it's great to be here and to see all of you. And I really appreciate the opportunity that you gave me when I was editor. And I just hope to continue supporting Community Alliance, especially like Peter said, we need more papers in Madera. Thank you all.
It was always an honor and a privilege to be able to take the information that was coming to us and share that with the community. You know, it was like I got as much out of it as I gave. So I've already spoken. You don't need to hear from me again. I'm going to pass it on to our current editor, Eduardo Stanley.
Thank you. I'm the editor since 2019, and when I was offered this opportunity, I said, wow, this is a different challenge for me, because I was a journalist for 30 years, mainly on the Spanish media. I think I was everywhere, Univision, Telemundo, etc. And I don't know if you noticed, but about 10 years ago, in every single town in the valley, we have Spanish papers. They were weeklies, but everywhere. Now, there's none. There's nothing. Everything is gone. We have only one newspaper in Spanish here, published by the Fresno Bee, mostly, it's mainly online. And so that's why we put a lot of emphasis now on the Spanish section we have in Community Alliance. And because we follow the demographics. This is, we have about 50-something% in Fresno County. In the city, it's about 45%. Plus, we have a presence that we are gaining power. Slowly, we're doing that. But you know, when they offered me this opportunity, I said, well, this is once a month. How difficult is that? I take long naps. Well, believe me, I was so wrong. But anyhow, I really enjoy it. I met so many great people here, great writers that are helping us to put together this newspaper. And I hope we continue doing this for, I don't know you guys, but I'm planning to be here for the 50th anniversary. We talk about, you know, trying to help progressive people to be in power, and minority people. Well, we have a great opportunity to support Elsa in Madera. And I think this is a great opportunity because this is going to be history. If she wins, she's going to be the first person, regardless of female or male or female, the first person of Oaxacan heritage. If you don't know, Madera is probably Oaxaca, but in USA. If you want to have a great mole, you don't need to go to Oaxaca, you go to Madera. First, of course, you can go to Oaxaca, it's beautiful. Anyhow, but so this is going to be history, November the 2nd. We have a great opportunity to support Elsa, and I'm very happy because she was also, actually, I replaced her. So I finish with this. I want to say that this controversial phrase, behind every great man there is a great woman. Well, okay, I don't want to discuss the content of that, but I want to say that behind a good editor, and I hope I'm going to get there is a great editorial board. We have a great editorial board that really is the government of Community Alliance. Thank you very much.
The previous editors, thank you. Here's another note. Maybe think about something else. Here's another one of the conservative playbooks, is that there is a huge push right now in Spanish radio to get it sponsored and supported through the conservative apparatus. And so this is another important reason why it is so very imperative that we continue to support the Community Alliance so that we make sure that we have our progressive Spanish voices and other voices to be heard here in the community. And so with that, I'm going to bring back up Pam. I'm not exactly sure what she's going to be doing, but I'm supposed to bring her back up to do something right now. So bring Pam to
Okay, you guys, you tricked me. But thank you very much. So I'm just going to be really brief. We're going to bring on Mark here in a minute, but I just want to take a couple minutes, and I want to thank everybody who's here tonight and who came. And but I'm going to ask you to all become monthly sustainers because, you know, 25 years, right? Is that a miracle or what?
Yeah.
And who is the miracle? You are the miracle, right? You have kept the Community Alliance here for 25 years. And let me tell you, I can't tell you how many people have said, it's going down, there's not going to be around. But you are the miracle. You have kept the Community Alliance going. And, you know, we've come to you so many times, and I want to acknowledge this. We've come to you so many times when we literally didn't have enough money in the bank to pay the printer, right? Yeah. So many what do you call them? 4 fire alarms, right? We've come to you and asked you to, please write us a check. We need to pay the printer, and you guys were always there to help us when we needed it. We've gotten our house a little bit more in order, and thanks to the people who do give us the monthly pledges, we're able now to have a more stable financial situation. So that is so very important. The other thing that I don't know if people spoke about it tonight or not, but the new thing that we have been doing, and shockingly successfully, is we have applied for and gotten some grant money, which is like double our budget, and with that, we've been able to do outreach. Peter is doing excellent work. We are able to hire crews of homeless people to go out and take the paper out to the homeless encampments, get them information about COVID, how they can get their vaccinations, how they can get tested, and all that kind of stuff. So we're getting the paper out to the homeless by hiring homeless people to go out and do it to the encampments. And I think we're probably the only nonprofit maybe on the planet that's doing that. So it's, and we're also, Peter has also been going out, and we've been setting up newsstands and other outlets in many new communities that we weren't in before. He's talked about Madera. We're out, we have a number of spots where we are distributing the paper. He's taken it out to Huron, and it's being distributed in Huron, Parlier, Sanger, Selma, Fowler, lots of places that we just didn't have the capacity to do it before. But because of these grants, we are able to do it. And grants are wonderful, but, they come and they go. So, we would not be here without you. But we do have that, and it's wonderful that we're being able to. And as Eduardo said, there's really, I know that the Bee does some print stuff, in Spanish, but it's very much more conservative than what we do. So that voice, getting that information out to Spanish people is so incredibly important. And I work for the Dolores Huerta Foundation, so I know how hard it is for people to get good information, right, about COVID and about all the other different kinds, just survival stuff, right, and just to understand politically what is going on. So I am going to ask you tonight, I know you came, and I feel like such a jerk asking you to do more, but I have to because the paper is so important, right? So I ask everybody, if you're not a subscriber, please become a subscriber, because we really need as many subscribers. That's the base level of support for the paper. If you're not a monthly sustainer, please become a monthly sustainer. At whatever you can give, 5, 10, 15, whatever a month. And there's a little pledge forms there on your table that you could fill out if you want to, make a pledge for that. Yeah, like that. Okay. And even if you are a sustainer, can you up at 10%, right? Because we have to keep up with all the expenses too as things go on. So, you guys, you deserve all the credit because you've kept us alive. You've kept us, in ink for 25 years. So that's an amazing accomplishment. So thank you very much.
These should be on all of the tables, and that was my best Dana White impersonation for the evening. Before we get to our keynote speaker, I'm a big into thank yous because I am a product of lots of work from different people. And I'm going to surprise this young lady with this acknowledgement and thank you. Ms. Gatterbush, Ruth Gatterbush. For those of you, I was just going to say, I'm going to acknowledge you. When I was a 17-year-old senior at Roosevelt High School, serving as the vice president of the student body, Ms. Gatterbush served on the board at that time. And it was because of her leadership, taking us high school students out on a monthly basis, listening to us as 17, 18-year-old students about the things that were important to us at our school, why I got into politics. And so I want to make sure that I acknowledge Ms. Gatterbush and her presence here tonight. So with that, the moment has come for everyone to hear from our keynote speaker this evening. And I'm going to invite Mike Rhodes back up to introduce him to everyone.
Take the microphone.
So Mark is, in my opinion, the best living writer in Fresno right now.
Yeah.
The first book I read that Mark wrote is called In My Father's Name. It's this story about the murder of his father and how he looked into the community and asked the question, how could this have happened? And it captured my imagination. It led me to realize the importance of investigative journalism and digging deeper and finding more truths. You know, I always knew, I grew up in Fresno, I was born here. So, you know, I've always been a little cynical about city government and the people running it.
Go figure.
Thank you, Loretta. Mark goes into some details about this that really made me just appreciate the importance of good journalism. He tells this story about corruption with the Fresno City Police and city council members. And I just learned today that there's a new grand jury investigation at City Hall. We'll be reporting on that probably in the next issue. But what I wanted to tell you about is the level of corruption at the time, and this was in the 60s and 70s. Mark's father was murdered in, I believe, 72. So he takes history back. And Fresno just has this sordid history of, like, the police chief, when he retired, marrying this woman who ran the biggest brothel in town. He tells the story of city council members who were set up at the Hacienda Hotel and Bar, which is right over the Clinton Avenue overpass. It was a very popular place at the time. But the chief of police would ply city council members with alcohol, set them up with a prostitute, send them upstairs to a hotel room, and film it. Then he owned them. He was able to get them to do what he wanted them to do. And that's how this city has run a lot of the time. I mean, now we have Jerry Dyer, and I'm just cynical enough not to believe that this only happened in the past. Jerry has a pretty vivid history. I want to welcome Karen Humphrey, who's here tonight. Where's Karen at? Oh, hi, Karen. Thank you for coming. Karen probably remembers Operation Rezone, which was a case that the FBI uncovered collusion between builders, developers, and city council members. Just an amazing story, because these people were like selling their votes for rezoning by getting a set of tires for their car or a cheap coat. And they were so emboldened that when they went before the judge at sentencing, one of the city council members wore the suit that he got as a bribe in the court. Well, all that to say, Mark Arax, this isn't the only book he's written. He's written several, and they're like national bestsellers. This one that I have here is about Fresno, but he's written other ones. West of the West, The King of California, and The Dreamt Land. The Dreamt Land received a California Book Prize for History. This guy is amazing, and we're so lucky to have him here tonight. Welcome, Mark Arax.
There he is.
I've been looking for you all night, Larry. What's going on?
Yeah, you might know a few people here.
Mike, thank you so much, man. That's beautiful. I think we need to give Mike an applause. What an extraordinary story. What he's built, what it reminds us of. When you look at Community Alliance today, and it's thick, it's smart. We got some old original gangsters like Vic writing for it, some new folks. Santos is still there. I mean, we'd be much poorer without it. So I'm here because of the Community Alliance and to give support to that and local journalism. So thank you for all supporting that. I have a couple. Pat wanted me to remind you that the forks are real, she said. And they need to be put in a nice bucket with suds over there. Do not throw them away. I want to make sure that the Latina mafia back there can hear me. Can you hear me? Okay. Karen's here tonight, Humphrey, and it reminds me of a story. I was at City Hall one day, and it was a big vote on a piece of earth that had been declared off limits to growth. An old man, John Bonadelli, who I lived behind, whose peacocks would escape from his backyard pen and would land in our front yard. I remember one morning at 5:36 in the morning, I heard this yelp, this otherworldly yelp. And I looked out the window and I thought I was dreaming because there was a peacock in full plumage, just spreading its wings. And you know, about 3 hours later I figured out, well, this is Bonadelli's peacock. So I called him up and he came and picked it up. I think he herded it and took it back to his mansion over there on Van Ness Extension. But this vote was a key vote, and he wanted to break open this plan. And so he was sitting in the front row, glaring at these council members as they were voting on this. And one council member, Esther Padilla, it was a very complicated vote. It was actually kind of illogical. And Esther voted the wrong way. In other words, she voted against Bonadelli and he lost 3-2. So they took a break, and I walked into the hallways of City Hall, and there was John Bonadelli browbeating Esther Padilla in a corner there, in a corner. And I just watched this. I couldn't hear the voices, but I could see that she was under tremendous duress. And so the break was over, and they went back into the council session, and she raised her hand and she said, "Excuse me, can we go back and revisit that last item?" And they agreed to do so, and she changed her vote, and John Bonadelli got a plot of land on the north end that he could do what he wanted with it. And that opened up all of the north end, Copper River and everything else after that. It was all gone. So that was the power that he wielded. And a few years later, I had the joy of walking into his office, because I had broken some stuff, gathered some stuff about Operation Rezone that no one had, and I went and confronted him with this. And when I walked in, the office was empty, and I could hear this snoring from the back office. So I walked in. There were these Watusi, these photos of Watusi cattle all over the wall. Long-horned Watusi cattle that he kept on a plot of land. In fact, I knew that he had rustled. He was a cattle rustler in the 1940s and had gone to prison in San Quentin for rustling cattle. And he kept that, that was an important thing for him, to keep the cattle. So there he was, boots on the desk, asleep, and I didn't know what to do. And I probably could have had my run of the place. But I waited, he woke up, and I said, Mr. Mondadelli, I'd like to talk to you about your legacy. And I opened up the tape recorder. I confronted him about the cattle rustling. He said, turn off that tape recorder. And he said, no one in my family knows about that episode. They don't know that I was in San Quentin. And he started horse trading with me. Listen, I'll tell you this if you leave that out. I'll tell you this if you leave that out. That's been the story of Fresno. After I did that piece, the FBI ended up focusing on him, and he spent some real soft time in federal prison, about 4 or 5 months, in his 80s. And that was recompense, I guess. So, anyhow, Karen, where are you at? Hey, Karen. So, let me talk a little bit about growing up stupid to your place, because that's how I grew up. I think that's how we all grow up, dumb to our place. I remember as a kid, the FBI coming to visit my grandfather. They visited always in pairs, and I never knew what was quite going on. Later, when I wrote my first book, I found his FBI file. 1,400 pages. They'd followed him for a half a century. They were following him as he was wearing diapers. Okay. There was trying to understand when we moved into our first house on Tulare Street, just down from Roosevelt High School. About 6 months later, a man and his family, a man named Dr. Fitzalbert Marius, moved in next door with his daughter April and son, and they were a black family. And he had a wonderful history coming from the West Indies and all that. And my dad and he became friends, and about a month or two after they moved in, a bunch of for sale signs went up on Tulare Avenue. The only 2 houses that didn't have for sale signs were our house and a nurse named Rose Sarabian, another Armenian woman. I didn't know why the Armenians were in solidarity with the black family, but I would later find that out too. Growing up, my grandparents lived along an irrigation canal. My grandmother was deathly afraid of me drowning in that canal, because every year, our canals that were unfenced, every year, Mexican kids who needed a break from the 110-degree weather would jump in and they would drown. And sometimes their bodies wouldn't be recovered until the irrigation season had ended, and they would slow down that flow and then finally find their bodies. Where was that water coming from? Who was it going to? By what right? I didn't know enough to even ask myself that question. In fact, it wasn't until 10, 15 years ago that I finally did ask myself that question. My dad was a character, okay? He was the son of a communist. We had a bunch of grocery stores in Fresno called Peacock Markets, a chain of them, 5. And then the Safeway market came and we couldn't compete. I remember my dad had a bunch of lost leaders. In fact, the whole store was a lost leader. Okay. We went bankrupt, and then one day he came home and said, I bought a restaurant over on Weber, across from Motel Drive. It was a restaurant, all right, but he got rid of the food in about 4 months. And he turned it into the hottest rock and roll club between San Francisco and LA. In 1971, he brought in Chuck Berry to duck walk across a stage probably no bigger than this. I wanted so badly to go. I couldn't. Chuck Berry played 2 shows that night. I later found out that my dad paid him $1,000 in cash. He had driven up in a Cadillac, no top, a beautiful white woman next to him. And this upset some of the people in the bar, and they actually had plotted to roll Chuck Berry in the parking lot of Arax Apartments. Somehow that was put to a stop. Chuck Berry went on his way. 6 months later, my dad was killed, and for 30 years I didn't know why. So this quest to figure out your place has taken me to, it's been a privilege actually. It's taken me to wonderful, wonderful places on the map. And many of these places I've discovered just by luck, serendipity. Driving down Highway 99 one day in the winter, coming across this little shack that looked like it had been lifted out of the Mississippi Delta. I thought, my God, that thing is still standing. And then I looked closer, and out of a stovepipe I could see puffs of smoke coming up. And I thought, my goodness, someone lives here. So I pulled off, I think it was Avenue 76, crossed the railroad tracks, went up a dirt road through a vineyard, and there was the shack right in front of me. It was standing on stilts. I later found out that it was standing on stilts because it was in the Tulare Lake Basin, which was prone to flood. As I got out, I could see a pump, a pecan tree with its limbs hacked off because that had kept the place warm. And as I got up closer, there were rabbit furs, pelts, that were nailed into the side of this wood shack. I mean, chickens got a better roost. And if you looked up at the roof, you could see that there were empty cans of Vienna sausage wedged into the roof to keep it from falling. I knocked on the door once, twice. It creaked open, and up above me was a black man in his 90s, James Dixon. He talked in a stutter, and he was very nervous because he thought I was a county inspector come to close up his house. I said, no sir, I'm here, I'm a writer. And I said, I'm interested in your story. I spent about an hour with him that day. I told him I would come back, and then I asked if there were others like him here in the kind of alkali dust of Tulare County. And he said, just across Highway 99, there was a whole settlement of blacks in a place called Teviston. And I went across the street, across the highway, and there, in shacks that were, in some cases as bad as his, in some cases better, there was a whole community of dying black Okies. They had come from Oklahoma, from Arkansas, Texas. They called those the 3 steps of hell. I can't remember now which one was the worst step of hell. Louisiana. They had followed the Cotton Trail west, and they were something extraordinary in the American story. That great migration of blacks who left the South and went to the big city, Detroit, Chicago, New York, and if they came west, they went to Oakland, San Francisco, and LA. They didn't want any part of that migration. They wanted to retain their rural life, their rural freedom. And so they came west to the middle of California. thinking that this was a new promised land. What they found was just a prettified version of old Jim Crow. They were locked out of the city by restrictive real estate codes, and they had no water, no electricity. They built these shacks. After 5-6 years, they finally, with the help of the Quakers, a man named Bard McAllister, and I got to meet Bard, an incredible man with a red beret, and he had come with other Quakers to bring water to these families. And they dug the first well, and when they dug it, it became a story in Time magazine. The Gift, it was called. The Gift. This is the history of this place. And if you get off the beaten track and get lucky, you can find it. It's a beautiful history and a tragic history, and I feel privileged to have been able to tell it, and I hope to continue to tell it. The digging into the story has also required me to look into my own people's story. We are on a street called Faulkner. No small irony. I grew up just 2 blocks that way. I didn't know who J.C. Faulkner was growing up. I knew that Mrs. Faulkner was still alive. She lived on the corner of Van Ness Extension in Bullard. And I went to Malik Elementary, just 2 blocks away. And on her birthday every year, the children of Malik were asked to cross the street and sing happy birthday to Madame Faulkner. She lived in an old country manor surrounded by figs. So, as I was trying to figure out this city, its racist past, its redlining, I went back to look at Faulkner. And I found that, and I wrote about this in the Dream Plan, but not in the depth that I've figured out since, that he and Wiley Giffen was the head of Sunmade. And Sunmade was the biggest industry in Fresno, and it was their job every year to sign up all the raisin growers. But the Armenian raisin growers were recalcitrant. They wanted to do business with their own Armenian packers. And this pissed off Sunmade. And this came at a time where there was a rise in the West of the KKK, a new KKK in the 1920s, that had infiltrated the highest levels of the police departments up and down the valley in City Hall. And they went after the Armenians. They sent night riders at 10, 11, 12 at midnight to these ranches to force the Armenians to sign. Some did, some didn't. My great-grandmother raised a pistol and said, "You don't go away, I shoot her." Giffen signs up enough Armenians, and then he decides to go into business with Faulkner to develop all this land out here. The new Fig Garden old and Fig Garden new. And that racism against Armenians then becomes codified in restrictive real estate covenants. No blacks. There were only 400 blacks here in the whole county in 1920. But what respectable real estate covenant would not lead off with blacks? No blacks, no Asians, no Mongols, no Armenians. And then it went on to say, and no descendants of the Turkish Empire. Well, that was Armenians again. And no lineal descendants of Armenians. And on and on and on. It wasn't until 10 years later that the Mexicans then became part of those restrictive real estate covenants themselves. Their numbers weren't all that great. They weren't a threat at that time to buy land. The Armenians were landed, they were a threat. And so we see the colorization of a people who come from the Caucasus. And this is how this whole thing starts. And if you take a look at how these restricted real estate covenants went from the 1910s to the 1950s, you can see the stealing of untold dollars of, mortgage accumulation and equity that got robbed from people of color. That redlining still exists in this city. We're seeing it right now. We're seeing white families leave the core, move to Clovis, and now Clovis isn't good enough. They have to go over the San Joaquin River into Madera. The ads for those new projects in Madera, Tesoro, whatever, they always feature just white faces. This is our place. You don't need to be preached about it. You're all been involved in one way or another in the fight for equity. Is that my time?
No.
So I got my little post-it here of notes. Mike said, can you please end on a note of optimism?
He said that.
So, what can we do? I mean, there's so many things coming down. I mean, look at this. It's like a battering we've undergone in the last 2 years.
Still standing.
Yep. Trump, COVID, wildfires, 10 years of drought interrupted by a single year of flood. Where do we put down? Where do we put our efforts? I'd like to think that one of the places to look at right now is the fight for clean air.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because it takes us to all sorts of other fights. And if we could come together and push for clean air, I think we could do something. Now, we've got a lot of jackasses on the air board. We got a guy named Buddy Mendez. Okay. I mean, this guy should be, public enemy number one for his stances. In fact, but actually, he's not alone, not far from it. If you look at all the white men on that board, he's Portuguese, by the way. They're all the same. So we've got some things happening right now. We've got the wildfire smoke complicating the air. We've got kids playing football on Friday nights in very dangerous conditions. Now, I'm the brother of the football coach at Bullard High, okay? He calls me soft for talking about this. He's actually a liberal, but he thinks that it's all right to play in this. But what he doesn't know is that we don't even have monitors right now that are measuring the toxicity of this air that the kids are breathing. The monitors they get clogged up, they can't read it. So they're actually allowing games to be played in unsafe conditions. And I think you're going to read about this pretty soon. There's a young journalist who's working on these stories, asking tough questions of the air district, which is culpable, the school district, which is culpable, and the parents who believe that, geez, my kids, and I can understand this. I mean, I play football. My son played football. We played sports. They've been denied so much. Let them go out on a Friday night and play. But it's dangerous. And I'm not even talking about the head injuries. So we have that. We have Measure C right now, and Kevin Hall's been writing a great deal about this, doing great work with a lot of Latina activists in the fields, okay? Here's where we have an advantage. We actually have real activists out there in the rural areas doing incredible work in communities, okay? And it's sometimes getting lost, but they're doing it. And if we can team up with them, we can get some things done. I'm afraid that the Latino elected officials, not all of them, but a lot of them, really are no different than the white elected officials who did all the bidding of the developers for all those years. Okay. We've got several members of the city council who are trying to make it easy for various projects to happen, to sprawl even more. We don't need to sprawl anymore. So this is what we need to focus on. Measure C, a lot of that money has been spent to build highways that connect to suburbia in mountain land. We are 1/4 of our population in California now lives in the path of wildfire. Even as these houses are burning, we're building new suburbia in their wake. I think with climate change, we have, it offers an opportunity. And let me just end with this. The pattern of sprawl that has taken farmland from good ground where rivers flow onto bad ground where there are no rivers and we have to pump the hell out of the aquifer. That is a model that is no longer sustainable. I was in Madera. I wrote a piece for the Atlantic Monthly a month ago. It was called A Well Driller's Warning. I went out with a well driller as the aquifer had dropped in Madera 60 feet in 2 months. It was spent, it was depleted, and wells were going down everywhere. It's just, we just can't keep doing this. And a brave voice, this well driller, whose whole business relies on, refurbishing these wells, putting in new ones, had decided that he had had enough and told his story. So, with climate change, California doesn't need climate change to have climate change. This is part of our inherent pattern. But with climate change hitching on to our own wild swings in weather, we're seeing havocs we've never seen before. And I don't know that we could continue on with the sprawl pattern of growth in both agriculture and suburbia anymore. It has to end, and you don't need to be a NIMBY anymore to make that statement. If we grow, we need to grow by revitalizing the core of this place. I did a book reading a year and a half ago in Portland, Oregon. It's the first time I'd spent a lot of time there. And all these neighborhoods in Portland weren't really known as Portland. They were known by the neighborhood. And because Portland had drawn a line around the city, an urban growth boundary, and protected farmland, what happened is the developers couldn't sprawl out. So they would come to the core and invent and reinvent and reinvent. Now, some of this obviously led to a kind of, neighborhoods that were privileged and mostly white. But some of it also led to a kind of continuing revitalization of the core and a pride in these communities. And I think in California, we've hesitated to do this. In the Valley in particular, we've hesitated to do this. And this is what we need to start insisting that our politicians do. So I think to focus on air becomes a kind of nexus to all these things. We should be paying our gardeners a lot more to stop blowing. Okay. My gardener, I said, please don't blow. I come out and as they're working, I don't say this to Pal, I sweep, okay? Sweeping isn't so bad. It's actually pretty good, okay? blowing. You're just blowing more stuff in the air. We need to stop allowing wood burning in this valley. These are things that we can do so we can breathe again. So anyhow, I promised Mike I wouldn't get preachy. I don't know if I fulfilled the promise of ending on a positive note. But I think this gathering here, the people I've met tonight, the people I've known for a long time, fighting this good fight, we need to come together. We're getting older, okay? But we need to find that energy again and figure out a couple places to strategically put our emphasis in. And one of those places is to give some dough so the Community Alliance can continue to do the job that, so the bee's been decimated, but they've got an editor there who's trying to do the right things too. You're going to read some good stories in the next couple months in the bee, some very important stories. So support our local journalism, stay in the fight, and thank you so much.
So let's give Mark another round of applause. That is one guy who does not mind taking on others, and I applaud you and appreciate that. We don't always see eye to eye on things, but at least I respect.
We're 70%.
Okay, I'll agree with that. But I appreciate your abilities, your tenacity, and your willingness to go after those tough subjects. And so we need more people like you, younger of course, but we need more people. So thank you again, Mark. So with that, Pam, I can't see very well.
Way over there.
Okay, Pam, you got to come back up real quick.
Hey, Darren, do you think Mark can answer a question?
Our hour has been pretty long. We prolonged it because of what went on with the food. So I'm sure he'll be available back there with the Latina Mafia. Yeah, you'll hear them back there in the corner. So he'll be back there and available for questions.
What do you want me to say?
Well, you're supposed to go. Oh, I thought you were coming back.
Okay. Okay. Oh, yes, I am. I forgot. Please, there's those little cards on your table. If you can become a monthly sustainer, you've kept us alive so far, and let's give it all for another 25 years, right? We're all going to be here for the 50th, right? So, thank you so much for coming. And
Miss Walk, where are you?
Pat,
where are you? We must acknowledge our hostess, please.
Oh yeah, and thanks so much to Pat, of course, for her absolutely gorgeous garden and inviting us into her home to this lovely place. And my grandson did a complete inspection of all the grounds, and it's absolutely just wonderful for a 6-year-old boy. You want to say something, Pat?
Thank you for coming. I had to remember those forks are real. Don't throw them away. I've lost a whole set of the really good stuff. So, thank you for coming. I've tried to light your way out, but is Lance going to play some more? Whoa, ho, ho, ho. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat, for all your years of hospitality.
Feeling like a hobo with new shoes. Feeling like a hobo with new shoes. I'm feeling like a hobo with new shoes. Looking at myself standing right next to you. Looking at myself standing right next to you. Chica. got two lousy dimes. I got two more dimes. I got two lousy dimes. Oh, bottle of water and a fool, bottle of wine. Oh, bottle of water and a fool, bottle of wine. Feeling like a hobo with new shoes. Feeling like a hobo with new shoes. I'm feeling like a hobo with new shoes. Looking at myself standing right next to you. Looking at myself standing right next to you. Looking at myself standing right next to you. It's been a little while, hasn't it? Some of you I've seen, haven't seen in a really long time and I miss. And some of you I don't know, maybe I've met you before. Some of you, you know who you are, and I love you very much. And I appreciate it. You know who you are. You know, when I was struggling to be heard, seeking attention, I don't know why. Community Alliance was always, you know, very helpful, and that's why I'm here, right? Literally, that's why I'm here. It's been fun over the years, playing for all you guys. I think I moved to Fresno in 2001. Shit. Oh, sorry. Wow, it's been a while. We're in 2021, right? From 01 to 01. That's kind of weird. I moved back home recently, though. I live in Orosi now, back with my parents, where I grew up, when I was born and raised. And a little horse ranch in the ghetto. Me and the chickens and the horses have little jam sessions in the mornings with a cup of coffee and a sunrise over the mountains. Oh my God, got the blues. It's been flooding, tears spilling over my shoes. God got the blues, tears spilling up over my shoes. Now God got the blues, good Lord, what can I do? How high? Got this depression coming on. It's been pushing, pulling on. Got this depression, oh Lord, pressing on. And God got the blues, good Lord, what can I do? Ha ha ha. Oh my God, got the blues. It's been flooding tears spilling over my shoes. God got the blues, tears spilling up over my shoes. And if God got the blues, good Lord, what can I do? How high? God, got the blues. It's been flooding tears spilling over my shoes. God got the blues, tears spilling up over my shoes. Now God got the blues, good Lord, what can I do? Now God got the blues, good Lord, what can I do? Now God got the blues, good Lord, what can I do? Yeah. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. So, I had this one particular song from Bruce Springsteen kind of haunt me, and I knew once I learned to play it, maybe it would go away. I learned to play it, and then I had to play it. So it never really went away. But I get songs in my head, and then yeah, they drive you crazy after a while. Which is why I have to play them to maybe, you know, offset the balance of whatever. Who knows? It's musician madness. Who cares, right? It's called Ghost of Tom Joad. And there's no going back. Highway patrol choppers coming up over the ridge. Hot soup on a campfire under a bridge. Shelter line stretching around the corner. The sign says, welcome to the new world order. Family sleeping in a car in the southwest. No home, no job, no peace, no rest. The highway's alive tonight. Nobody's kidding nobody where it goes. And I'm sitting down here in the campfire light, looking for the ghost of Tom Joad. Who invited that guy? Where's your drums at, my brother? He pulls a prayer book out of his sleeping bag. Teacher lights up a button, takes a drag. Waiting on the last shall be first, and the first shall be last. In a cardboard box at the end of pass. He's got a one-way ticket to the promised land. Got a bell in your belly and a gun in your hand. Sleeping on a pillow of solid rock. Bathing the city's aqueduct. The highway's alive tonight. Nobody's kidding nobody where it goes. And I'm sitting down here in the campfire light, looking for the ghost of Tom Joad. Whoa! Yeah! a cop beating a guy. Wherever a hungry newborn baby cry. Where there's fight against the blood and hatred in the air. Look for me, ma, I'll be there. If someone's looking for a place to stand, needing a decent job or a helping hand, if ever someone's struggling to be free, look in the eye, ma, you'll see me. The highway's alive tonight. Nobody's kidding nobody where it goes. And I'm sitting down here in the campfire light, looking for the ghost of Tom Joe.
All right.
Appreciate it. I think it kind of fits the moment in it, maybe. It fits the moment these days all the time, that's what sucks.
But you can sit here if you want.
Can you just not let that song shoot for you? Can it be something that we forgot? Whenever there's a cop beating the guy, you just look at me. You ought to get it right now. Anyway. All right. What do you feel like, Mr. Stanier? Man, it's still alive. Take all the points. God ran off to California, took the circus too. Big green man is failing, left you with the bill. Black dust is rising, give all the getting's good. Devil's on up everything, even that stony old shoe. Chin up, shoulders back, limp on down the road. Yeah. Big Red is riding, Old Red is rolling down the line. Big Red is riding, Old Red is rolling down the line. You paid your due. Lay back and sip on your wine. Big Red is riding, Old Red is a rolling down the line. Your dusty boots is holy, summer road burning through. Your ink your last swallow, mirage is thirsty too. Every step takes you further, farther from what you know. Devil's owning up everything, even that stony old shoe. Chin up, shoulders back, and on down the road. Yeah. Big Red is riding, Old Red is rolling down the line. Big Red is riding. rolling down the line. You pay your due. Lay back and sip on your wine. Big Red is riding. Old Red is rolling down the line. Big Red is riding. Old Red is rolling down the line. Big Red is riding. Old Red is rolling down the line. You paid your due. Lay back and sip on your wine. Big Red is riding. Old Red is rolling down the line. I come creeping up behind you. I'm the color in your black and white world. Feel the wind blow. Yeah, that's me. Yeah. I'm everything you're gonna need. Hitch wire man. Hitch wire man. I'm the darkness. I'm the deep. On the primal, the earthly pull up, blueprint cracking the road. Feel the wind blow. Yeah, that's me. I'm everything you're gonna need. Hitch wire man. Hitch wire man. I'm the darkness. I'm the deep. That's me. I'm everything you're gonna need. H-Y, man. H-Y, man. I'm the darkness. I'm the deep. Ha, 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 ha.
I have been sent to inform everyone that the food line is available now. There are vegan selections as well as other selections, so please help yourself. We'll get started after everybody gets situated. Thank you, Lance.
Turn me on. Fired. Eager to hit that food. Man, where's your drums? Get over here. God, what happened? We can't be in the same room together and not play. Come on, man. There's a tambourine somewhere.
Are they gonna keep playing, or are they gonna?
Oh, what?
Stan fired for not calling
Stop
you.
now for the food, or are they gonna?
A month ago I emailed. Oh, never mind. We forgot.
Okay, they're gonna keep
Never
playing
mind.
through the food.
Did it really? Did it? Did it? Man, this has been going on. It was in the newspapers.
So there's a.
Anyway, well, I barely made it. How about that? Time got no mercy in this land. Time got no mercy in this land. Sun keeps rising, lonely not too long. Look in the mirror, young man is gone. Time got no mercy in this land. The sun keeps rising, lonely nights are long. Look in the mirror, young man is gone. Time got no mercy in this land. Got no mercy in this land. Time got no mercy in this land. Sun keep rising, lonely not too long. Look in the mirror, young man is gone. Time got no mercy in this land. Will you work this land from bosom to grave? Sun beating, burning down the same. Time got no mercy in this land. Ooh. So let's change it there. Ready? Isn't that what we're supposed to do?
We're going to do a transition now.
Okay. You want me to stop or play one more or do what? You're the boss episode.
One more.
All right, we'll play one more. Stan's ready to turn me off again. And he might be hungry, man. You might want to get out of his way when he gets in line. He might chew on somebody's heels. Hi, Dixie. Hi, Dixie. So this one's for everyone that we've lost. And I just recently got a text from a friend of mine, and turns out his beloved mate just passed, and this one's for her. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. Once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now, Lord, I see. Been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun. We know this day to sing away, and then we first begun. Sweet the sound that saves